educator for over 40 years and taught the public schools for 10 years, special education teacher. And then after 10 years, I went into the business world and had my own Sylvan Learning Centers, ended up with like 8 of them in Eastern North Carolina. And when 30 year came around, I thought it was time to sell some and kind of enjoy life a little more. And so I sold all my centers in the past couple of years and just kind of do some education consulting with a couple of folks at schools and do some educational testing with a clinic in Greenville. Served on the State Board of Education, and of course, charter schools was under my committee. So I know a little bit about the different charter schools, and I'm actually very excited that I'm getting to serve on this particular one because, you know, when it came before me, it was when it was a first year pilot, and I know y'all come a long way in 8 years or so. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to learning and hoping I can contribute something that'll be helpful.
Well, thank you. And again, we welcome you and look forward to your utilizing your experiences and the depth of knowledge that you bring to the board and to the operations um, for the school. So thank you so very much for that.
Thank you.
All right. Let's take a peek at our agenda, and hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to view it. And unless there are questions, may I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Jill, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Becky, would you second that for us, please?
Absolutely. I second that motion. Becky.
Thank you so much. Mr. Hill?
Okay. Deborah Williams.
Aye.
Jill Hammergren.
Aye.
Becky Taylor.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hill. And the next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the June 16th meeting. If you haven't had an opportunity to take a peek at them, they're pretty short. So I'll give you a moment to review if you've not had an opportunity to do that.
This is Jill. I've read them and I make a motion to approve them.
And this is Becky. I second.
Mr. Hill?
Deborah Williams.
Aye.
Jill Hammergren.
Aye.
Becky Taylor.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much, everyone. Becky, you'll discover that I'm one of those people who keeps it moving.
I love that. I love that.
So our next item is a discussion item that Mr. Mullins and Ms. Millette are going to take us through the budget, or I'm sorry, the fund. Our next item is a discussion item. This has changed a little bit from the budget report. Mr. Mullins and Ms. Millette, I believe there are 3 attachments. One is a detailed version of the budget, the other is a condensed version, and then one outlining the budget adjustment summary. So, Mr. Mullins, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams and Finance Committee. What we have sent to you is some changes from the last Finance Committee meeting that we had to reflect what we project an increase in our ADM. So this budget reflects 3,000 students. I was just looking at our numbers a few minutes ago, and since this morning we've gained 26 students, 3,283. So we're about 309 students from meeting our cap. And so Ms. Millette will share some of the changes in this budget report detail versus the last time we met. We knew that, and this committee knows that we changed our health benefits, and that cost our employees a little bit more money. And so we've been talking, Mr. Hill and myself and Acadia and some our executive leadership team on how we can help employees. And so there's some changes that are reflected in this budget we're asking some help with the 403B and salary increase for employees and some instructional supply monies for employees and plus instructional supplies. And so there might be a few other things, but I'll turn it over to Ms. Millette and we'll try to answer any questions that you have as she goes over the summary.
Good evening, everybody. As Mr. Mullins mentioned, our initial budget was based on 2498. So we know that we're closer. We didn't want to go and overstate it, but we came in and said, just be conservative. Let's do 3,000 as your ADM. So I'm focusing, if you'll go to the condensed version, I know you said you had 3 attachments. So right now, if you want to look at in that one, so basically just moving your ADM from 2498 to 3,000, we're going to add another 2.9 million. And then that would also reflect for your local monies as well, which is another 396. So that really increases your revenue going forward. And again, we'll have to revisit this, but we wanted to be conservative, but also be realistic. So we did the 3,000. The other areas that we wanted to focus on, as Mr. Mullins mentioned, was raises, stipends. So we came to the conclusion that maybe we could do 5% increase in salaries across the board, as well as your stipends, which is your supplemental based on the position that they have. So it could be 5 or 10, but so we added another 400 and something thousand there. I'm going to round up so I don't give you exact numbers. And then the other item that we're trying to present to the board is to do a 5% contribution for your retirement for the 403B, because currently there is not a retirement plan there. So we're projecting or proposing that we do a 5% across the board, which would be another 340 something thousand. I'm just rounding. And then as Mr. Mullins mentioned, books and supplies, we know that we need right now another 125,000 for books and supplies. Transportation and travel, because you would be coming in, some of the staff would be coming in in-house. We're projecting to propose that we do 45,000 for in-house to the office, as well as their accommodations. And then we're asking for 50,000 for the teachers to have on-site printers. Some teachers do, some do not right now. So we're asking for $50,000 to give every teacher a printer. And then the testing and benchmarks, we're asking for another $10,000 for additional testing materials. So those are the items that we're requesting to add as far as expenses go at this point. And then again, we will revisit again in September.
So Ms. Williams and Ms. Taylor and Ms. Hammergan, many of our teachers do not have printers. And so this budget would allow us to purchase printers for all staff and provide $100 stipend per month for ink and paper and other materials that they may need for the teaching that hasn't been provided in the past. So that's the difference in this budget. And then also the increase would, when we did offer letters, we did not do an increase. And so the 5%, everything I'm reading is going to fall under the 5% at the state, but that would make us more competitive to be able to offer a 5% raise for our staff. But also we started a 403B a year ago, and we have about 12 employees participating in the 403B. And so we're asking that this board approve a 5% monthly contribution for all employees for the 403B. And then obviously they can match it or put what they want to in that program as well. So that's another means of recruiting and retaining the staff that we have through an increase in salary and that benefit of the 403B, along with some instructional supplies that they could use during the school year.
So I just want to throw something out here to get you guys' take on it. How would people receive, do you think, a requirement of them submitting something to their 401 or 403, I'm sorry. If we are, providing a 5%, what would be, asking them to, for 1% or 2% to contribute that amount. I'm just throwing it out. There are companies that do that. Some companies match, some companies go above.
Well, I think it would be an incentive for them to put some money in their 403B if we're putting 5% in. I don't know how many would, but I know a lot have contacted me and said if cyber would help contribute, they'd be more willing to do it. So, on our end, if we were to do 5%, I think it would be a motivation for many of our staff to then contribute.
So what
I'm
if
not
we,
as a motivation. I'm looking at it as a requirement.
well, I was going to say you could turn it around and say we would match up to 5%. And that would be an incentive to say, they put something in and then they get a match of 5%, up to 5%. Does that
I like
work?
that, Jill.
Yeah,
Becky, you want to weigh in on that one?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I definitely like it. And unless you were looking at the 5% as just a raise for them, but if it's really going to be in the 401 or B or whatever, yeah, it's typical. That's how I've always done. Of course, they could put anything in, but our company would match up to 3% of whatever they put in. 5% is very generous, but I kind of like the idea of if we're contributing to their retirement, then they're also putting in at the same time.
Yeah, I like that too.
And we won't require them to, participate.
Right.
But if they choose to, then we'll have some matching. That's my take on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would prefer to go that route. So board members.
Mr. Mullins, does that put any kind of problem in how we would do it? If we would say to them, we'll contribute up to 5%?
No, ma'am. I mean, we would just let them know that that's what we would contribute. And then, part of the 403B, they have to stay with cyber they have to get vested. And I think that's a 3-year vest with the 403B with First Financial. Mm-hmm. So if they were to leave, they would get their money, but cyber would keep what we had matched.
Okay.
That sounds like an incentive to keep them longer than their 3 years.
Right.
Right.
I
And that's
agree.
that's one of the reasons you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then some may want to go even over that 5%, but our board's contribution will be 5%. So am I hearing then that we will equally match their contributions or up to 5%, or are we going to provide just the 5% regardless of their percentage?
Well, I mean, I think you have to say something about, maybe we say if they put anything in, they get 5%. I mean, if you wanted to just do that, but then that requires that they have to put something in. Well, not really, I guess. If they don't get it.
They don't have to participate. No.
Right.
Some of the schools will do like we'll contribute 3%, and then if the employees want to contribute, the school will match the additional whatever they put in up to 5% or 6%, whatever the case may be. So maybe the school says, I'll do 3% regardless if you contribute or not. But if whatever you put in, I'll match dollar for dollar up to 5%, which would be another 2% or whatever.
What would that do to our budget as the line item is now?
$375,000.
So we'd still be okay.
Yeah, that would be if every staff member contributed 2%, then the school would put in 5% and match. That would be best case or worst case, if you want to look at it that way, dollar wise.
The 375 is the most we would spend. So we were just trying to develop a benefit because we know that they've taken a hit on their medical this year. And so we were just trying to come up with a competitive package with the 5%.
So, I mean, does it make sense for us to do something for 1 year and then say in the following years or however after that would be? I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to, I hear what you're saying about trying to maybe incentivize the hit that they've taken for the medical, but.
So, Mr. Mullins, your description that someone needs to participate for 3 years, is that the requirement for us to participate with the organization First Financial, or is the
Yes, sir.
3% our policy recommendation?
That is that's the 403 with First Financial. That's not what we developed. That's the 403 requirement, is that they have to stay with us for a period of time. And we set it up that way with First Financial because that's typically what they do. And that incentivizes our employees to stay with us longer. Because if they don't get our part of the match. It stays with us, and then they leave and they only get the money they've invested or put in the 403B.
And Mr. Mullins, what's your understanding of, and Robin, what's your understanding of how local school districts who participate in the state retirement system manage this process? Do they put money towards the employee and require a match, or is it just that they put a certain amount down as part of the benefits package?
With regards to this, you talking about with regards to the state retirement?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So with the state retirement, if you're full-time, they're required, the employee is required to put in 6%, period, if they're over 30 hours in full-time. And then the school has to match, right now it's like 20, right at 22%. So that's the state plan, and they don't have an option to contribute or not contribute, nor does the school. So that's kind of where you're trying to compete with those that are in the traditional LEA to pull in experienced staff, because that looks very incentivized if they think the school's putting in 22%, knowing that they're not going to get that money. You know, that a lot of that's administrative cost. But still, that's the competitive nature that we're talking about, is to try to give them some type of comparative.
And Robin, in your dealings with other charter schools, what type of retirement package have you seen?
I can tell you that 2014 is the last school that we have brought in as a new school that actually started working with the state retirement, because it's gotten so expensive. So most of the schools are doing a 401k or a 403b. Anywhere, like Ms. Williams said, is matching 3%, but a lot of them will do up to 6%, just trying to get more of course, doing the salary as well. So let's increase and try to go over and above the state scale or whatever, but also give them a little package that is somewhat comparable when you're comparing apples to oranges, but the state retirement is a little extreme. So just trying to give them an idea of, hey, 3% to 6% the school will put in on your behalf.
So right now we have budgeted up to 5%. So I'm comfortable staying there at the up to 5%, and matching them up to 5%, and then allowing them to determine how much they would like to contribute.
Mhm.
Here, I'm seeing Becky nod her head. She's in agreement with
Yes.
that. Jill?
I think that's I think it's a good start. I think it's fair, and I hear what Robin's saying because, the state does have kind of a whole different retirement offering than many places. But I think this is from going to having nothing really to this big, I think is a nice start.
Okay.
I agree.
think, yeah.
All right. And do we need to vote on that, Mr. Hill?
So this would go before the full board as a recommendation, and coming from the finance committee as the chair, if you and the other board members agree, you would make the motion and someone would second it to ask the full board to approve the budget as recommended. And of course, during that discussion, other board members may want to ask questions and offer changes, and you could give them a sense of the discussion that you and other board members have had.
All right. So this is a discussion item and it will come back for action at our next meeting, in our September meeting.
So I think what we should do is categorize this as an action item, because we want to take it to the board next Thursday as an action item. But in September, we would come back with another action item because we would have more updated ADM numbers. So just by way of context, we are continuing to enroll children until this Friday. And those numbers are dynamic. So we anticipate that we'll have 3,000 plus kids, but we don't have the specific number. We should have we will have the specific number by September to be able to say, these are the specific numbers and the budget. And so what you're saying here is a projection.
Okay.
So, but what action we're taking on next Thursday is that we would do a 5% increase as the budget is played out here, and match up to 5% on the 401 or 403B or whatever it is. All those numbers.
So I think the formal action would be to approve the 21-22 budget as presented.
Okay.
And so it's inclusive of updates to revenue and to expenses. And then in September, we would come back and present additional changes and ask the board to approve the budget as presented. Because one of the things that we're doing is waiting on the state legislature and trying to find out exactly where those numbers are going to fall.
All right. Any other questions?
Oh, that sounds good.
I did have one as I looked at the detailed version of the budget. It seems to me that our line item for professional development seemed a little small. But I'm new to this end of operations, so I'd just like to sort of give me an idea of how that number came to be. I want to say 163,000. And I guess I know, and you guys too know, the importance of sharpening your saw, or keeping your skills sharp. And so that just for the number of staff members that we have, that number seemed very small to me.
So Mr. Mullins, would you address, so we're looking at the detailed budget in the subcategory of staff development.
Professional, yeah.
And so it adds up to 167,000.
Now, does
And
that,
just a general
does that
idea of
include
how, where that figure came from.
the actual figure came based on what we had spent last year. And then I'm not sure if the figure that was just mentioned includes the high school, middle school, and elementary professional development that they have been given. I was trying to find that. Robin, do you know if that total number is the total number?
Yeah, it's in, if you look at the detail, it's in the staff development section. That includes your workshops, your 171, which is your ESSER 2, your EC, your tuition fees, and your education reimbursements.
So
And
I think one thing we can do, Chairman Williams, is just give you a breakout for what we assume would actually be provided with 167,000. And we could show that by grade band, K5, 6, 8, 9, 12, and provide that information in terms of, what is being provided, when, and that would give you and us a real clear picture of, the type of professional development and how much we're spending. So, one thing to keep in mind is, we're, fortunately, we are connected to the Department of Public Instruction. And so, we have access to a lot of modules through NESIS, for example,
Right.
and MTSS and ECAS. I'm using a bunch of acronyms, but so those are costs that are not included explicitly in the budget. And so I think, what this reflects are some costs associated with working with, non-governmental entities like the Department of Public Instruction. And those costs should go up, once we are able to have staff travel a little more, once we get outside of the pandemic.
Okay. One
So-
thing that just crossed my mind, during our last board meeting, we discussed getting our documentation prepared for when the Charter School Advisory Board asked us about what we've done and how we are progressing, and essentially asking us about our continuous improvement journey. So I think we should be prepared to talk about what professional development and trainings we've provided our staff, how those have been implemented, and of course, this is the costs that are associated with that, because it's extremely important to keep your staff current. And so, that's what my thinking is around those dollars. It just, for a school our size, maybe it is, a good target. So, but I'd just like for us to be thinking along those lines. But thank you for the explanation. Did any other board members have questions?
I just have a comment. I'm glad you brought this up. I think I would need to know, is this the amount of money that pretty much has been spent for staff development in the past 3 years each year? And okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And, I think if we could show what is being done, even outside of that amount of money, like you're saying with DPI and opportunities we have, those resources, that would look good, especially if you're going before the CSAB and they're asking what has been done to, help the staff address certain educational goals that students have, to be able to show that the school has invested in this in that way. But if we're receiving enough of the staff development through DPI and other resources where we don't have to, put it in our budget, then we may be fine with this dollar amount. But yeah, I'm glad you brought it up as a concern.
Well, and I have a concern that if we're not raising this, if this is what we've been paying, and now we have 3,000 students, it does seem a little low than if we're not putting a little bit more into that, because, they're getting more students. They need to have some additional trainings and things just to help keep them, with that. I mean, I just don't want our teachers to fall behind and or lose them, because we keep getting more students.
Yeah, I mean, maybe even if we just increased it like 10%, then it would just get it a little over 200,000, 207 or something. It just shows that more, we're investing in staff development also. That's a priority.
Yeah, and so Ms. Taylor, what we did is we looked at what we paid out per student. I know it's for teachers, but we looked at, what we paid out in the last 2 years. And then we basically spent $19 per student on professional development. And then this figure represents 2,900 students. So I know we need to increase it as our ADM increases, and we will do that. But,
Right.
we allotted a little over $13,000 for elementary, 15,000 for middle school, and almost 27,000 for the high school. And then they get a lot of non-cost PD and workshops as well. So, but yes, we will increase these numbers as we flush out our ADM after September 3rd.
And question, is there some way we can, I don't know if there's the right term is to monetize what we're not paying for, from
You can do that.
from DPI, just to kind of put that into perspective, because I hear you that we're getting a lot of that, and I want to show that in some fashion for our teachers and for our public.
So one thing I want you to also, let me bring this out. We have a contract with Edgenuity, which is our learning management system, and we receive training from the Edgenuity professional development person, so that there is a specific amount associated with that contract. So we could pull that out and at least for the purposes of this discussion, show that as additional funding associated with staff and professional development. And when we pull out the staff and professional development, one thing I also want to do is talk to you about the professional development calendar that I discussed with the board a few months ago. And so we specifically prioritized some competencies that we wanted our staff to have. And so I think it's important to be specific and on target and look at those traits that we want our staff to possess, and the knowledge and the because for those of us who've been in the education space and in the budget space for a long time, too often professional development is looked at as not being effective, and putting money towards professional development that isn't targeted towards a specific goal can inadvertently make professional development a target for people to cut. And so I think we have to think holistically and strategically about what we're trying to accomplish, and then assign budget numbers to it so that we can know that we've spent our money expeditiously and we can defend it.
Right.
And you can describe the impact too, what changes have occurred as a result of this in our practice as a result of this professional development. That, I think, is going to be the key. And that's ultimately should impact student performance. And all of that together is a part of our strategic plan that, we have to delineate or be ready to discuss with CSAP. So, again, that was just my thinking. And I think we do need to start thinking along those lines and being prepared to discuss them. And not only should our leadership be prepared to discuss the impact of our professional development, but the staff members should too. And I am noticing that I believe this school will be up for accreditation or reaccreditation 22, 23, 24, somewhere in there. And so one of the things that's important is that, they're going to want you to talk about your budget and how you manage your funds. And not only that, but the impact of where you put, and are you putting money where the needs are? Right. And that by, looking at your strategic plan and, and seeing where we put our money in and the results that we received as it plays out. So
Right.
Again, I'm gonna stop talking because I believe in 30-minute meetings for a 30-minute agenda, so we're a little bit over. But any questions or comments or anything else that we need to discuss?
I think this is a good discussion.
Mhm.
All righty then, on that note, may I have a motion to adjourn?
This is Becky. I move that we adjourn the meeting.
And this is Jill. I second it.
All in favor, Mr. Hill, would you process that for us, please?
Deborah Williams,
Aye.
Jill Hammergren,
Aye.
Becky Taylor.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for your contributions. Becky, we really look forward to working with you. So everyone have a good evening and see
Thank
you
you.
next week.
Yeah, thanks a bunch. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Jill.